The Cruel Prince Meets the Mummy.
Oh my gosh, it's my song! It's my song!
Sinister lesbian history mystery sold. What? Both of them think they're being haunted by each other? How many intergalactic spies can you fit in a bathtub? And hello, I hope you all have a snack, a beverage. Did you have water today? This is going to be a very long video. In fact, I already filmed it. I'm doing this completely backwards. So I come to you tired, but also so excited for 2026. The books in this list are so good. I say it later in the video, but I feel like a year that Leigh Bardugo is putting out fantasy, it's gonna be a good year. There will be timestamps down below so you can skip around. I'll also list the titles and the genres if you want to listen to the ones that seem more interesting to you. I've got sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. Some of them are a mixture of the three of them. They all sound just insanely good. So I made this list thanks to so many amazing book creators, especially book bloggers. So many great websites still going strong in the like short form content world. If you are looking to join that wonderful group of people or start your online presence in any way, shape, or form, you can thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I use Squarespace as a blogging platform, but because they have so many different features such as connecting your social media accounts, monetization for shopping, they have email lists, comment sections, really great analytics, and also just really cool templates to make your website look really cool. So I know a lot of people who are artists or creators in many different ways that use it as a portfolio and like a kind of resume landing page. You can try it out right now. You can go to squarespace.com and play with it for free, see what you could do with it. And then when you're ready to launch it to the public, you can go to squarespace.com/caricanread to get 10% off your first website or domain. So thank you so much to the book bloggers out there. Love ya. And very quickly before we dive in, the list is going to be all either beginnings of new series or standalones. So I want to give a shout out to the continuation of series that we're going to get in 2026. I'm making this on January 15th, so I'm working with the knowledge that I have right now. Shout outs to continuation of series. January 27th, we are going to see To Ride a Rising Storm, which is the sequel to Catch a Dragon's Breath, which I adored. And I feel like that book, the first book, was a really wonderful setup for the second book to be just crazy action-packed. May 5th, we're going to see Platform Decay, which is a new Murderbot novella. If you haven't started the Murderbot series, what are you doing? Little goofy. On May 19th, we're going to see the sequel to the Amina al-Sarafi series. It is called The Tapestry of Fate. I really need to do a reread of that now that I like understand the way that the story was being told. That was such a fun fantasy read because it really played with narration, and I don't think I like understood it until halfway through the book, and then I was like, oh wait, this is really funny. So definitely going to be rereading that and then diving into The Tapestry of Fate. And then September 1st. You will not hear from me on September 1st. You likely won't hear from me the weeks leading up to September 1st because I will be rereading Ninth House and Hellbent because we are getting a new Leigh Bardugo called Deadbeat. Not sure how I feel about the title, but it's a continuation of the Ninth House series, which reading Ninth House and Hellbent back to back when Hellbent came out was the most fun I've had in a really long time. And I want to do it again. I'm going to read all three, just marathon it, and it's going to be great, hopefully. Also coming out on September 1st is the continuation of the Night and the Moth series called The Knave and the Moon. I'm excited for those who are excited about it. Unfortunately, The Night and the Moth was a miss for me, but super excited for the girlies who are just losing their minds because we love that. And then finally, October 6th. This is, for me, so random because I never know what V.E. Schwab is doing. She's always just like writing 100 books at a time. I picture her as what's that guy's name from Spirited Away? What? Kamajiji. Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, I say that affectionately. Like, I never want her to stop doing that. That's wonderful for us as the reader. But she is releasing Victorious, which is the third book in her Villains series. What was it called? Vengeance, Vicious, Vengeful, and now Victorious. Vengeful, the second book, came out 8 years ago. It came out in 2018. So that's crazy that she's continuing the series. Excited for that too. I don't remember that being my all-time favorite series by her, but I still had a good time, so I'm looking forward to it. That's what's happening. Before we dive into the official list though, I just want to give you guys a heads up, especially because I've already done this, so I'm not scared of you. The reason why I really wanted to make this, not only do I want to talk about new releases, but I want to remind you that you can request books from your library. It really helps the authors, especially if they are debut authors. So you can go either directly to your library, probably to your library's website, but definitely it's really easy if you have Libby, which if you don't have that yet, oh God, and your library participates, please. Changed my life. Libby is just a virtual platform for your library, so you can get audiobooks, ebooks, etc. from there. One thing that you can do on Libby is that even if your library doesn't have it yet, you can set a notification for when they do. So then let's say they purchase Deadbeat, I will then be notified and can immediately get on that holds list. I'm never number one. Somebody always beats me. San Diego County Library, whoever you are, my nemesis. I'm sure we would be best friends in another dimension, you know? But for now, you're my nemesis. Whoever is always in front of me in line for every book that I want. But yeah, I do really encourage you to get a jump on these books by going to your library. Also, like pre-ordering is really wonderful too, but in case you are just unable to, if I pre-ordered every book on this list, I would be out hundreds of dollars. So yeah, I just want you to flex your library muscle if you can. It helps support your library. Go do that. Libby, love ya. So like I said, please get water and a snack, and I will see you in winter 2026. Welcome to winter. I'm going to try and break these up by season because I started this list thinking like, oh, it's just going to be 10 or so. No. I've already mentioned the books that are going to be sequels or continuations of things. So what follows is beginnings of a series, standalones, etc. And I've read a few of these, so I will insert my thoughts into the ones where I can, starting with a book that I finished yesterday and really enjoyed, The Swan's Daughter. This is young adult fantasy. This was so whimsical. I think that some people will not like it, so I'm going to talk to you about the writing style in a second. But in terms of the story, we are following the daughter of a Veritas Swan and a wizard. And Veritas Swans are these mythical creatures that can turn into beautiful women. They can also turn into swans. And when they fall in love, they like give up their agency basically. And the person that they love can have control over their lives, whether they can change into swans, things like that. So love is a very dangerous game to play if you are a Veritas Swan. We meet our main character when she is running away from her family because love is a toxic thing in this world. And she decides to go to the one place where her father can't follow her, which happens to be the royal palace that he built. So we do have sentient houses that are so fun. And when she arrives at the royal palace, it's kind of perfect timing because they happen to be holding a competition to find the royal prince, his bride. And Veritas Swans have this handy trick where they can sing and compel people to speak the truth. So rather than joining the competition to like win his heart, because again, love, not her deal, she instead asks to work for him and uses her power to help him see which of the women actually love him, especially because, for reasons the book will get into, most of them are also trying to kill him. Their teamwork and their trust in each other is literally life or death for both of them. So it just made for a really fun time. The strengths of this book was truly the whimsy of it all. I will say, like, the romance, I wasn't loving the prince. He was there, he was fine. You know, I feel like I could grow to love him if I had enough time, but the real strength of this book was just that descriptive language. There was a point where our main character had to use her imagination to think of what can darkness signify. Where can you find darkness? It makes sense in context, but basically she lists for like more than a page just lists all of the places you could find darkness, and it felt like my imagination was waking up. Like, where can you find darkness? Sure, in a dark room, but also like the shadow of a tree on snow, or in the gleam of a tiger's eye. And like, it was just pages, something, it just scratched an itch in my mind. That being said, I think the writing style could annoy some people because we walk into a room and we get endless descriptions of things. It can't just be like, she sat down at her desk. It has to be like, she sat down at her desk that was covered with, and then listing everything that is on this mess of a desk. So this really was just Roshani showing off her wonderful, whimsical imagination. The story was still very cute. Like, I really enjoyed the story. I loved the side characters. But if you're looking for like this gutting romantasy, it's not that. It is very almost like a grim fairy tale. I truly had such a good time. So that is The Swan's Daughter, one that I was looking forward to for so long, and it didn't let me down. It was a little different than what I expected, but did not let me down in the slightest. I am counting down the days till January 20th because everyone I know has said that this book has ruined them, changed their lives. It is going to be on their favorite book of the year, if not favorite book of all time lists. The hype for this is unreal. The people that have hyped it up are people that I really trust, so I honestly feel like it's not going to fall short of my expectations, and that is The Poet Empress. This is a debut, and the books that it is comped to are crazy. It says, and I'm grabbing all of this from Goodreads, it is a lush and deadly world, perfect for fans of The Serpent and the Wings of Night, The Song of Achilles, and She Who Became the Sun. Can you imagine putting all of those books together? No. So I'm super intrigued. Apparently this is like a devastating read, which I'm always there for. Basically, we're introduced to a world that is suffering with a famine and the threat of a civil war. Our main character, Wei, because of the famine killing her family, becomes a concubine at the palace, like a concubine to the prince. And when civil war is about to break out, that's a really deadly place to be. And this world also has magic that is performed through poetry, but that magic is waning. And so, quote, to survive, Wei must harden her heart, rely on her wit, and become dangerous herself, even if it means becoming a poet in a world where women are forbidden to read, and composing the most powerful spell of all, a ballad of death and love. So yeah, I really love when magic systems are more than just like they point their finger and they can do magic. I love when it is based on something physical, like writing poems or writing a song or things like that. Really excited for that. So that is The Poet Empress, maybe what I'm looking forward to most. Currently, my most anticipated read of the year. Okay, following that we have The Bone Door. This is by the author of Voyage of the Damned, which I haven't read yet. Apparently it's a cult classic. I believe it's like queer pirates? I don't know. When I made a video about funny fantasy, people were recommending that as like it's a really good time. Apparently this book is not a good time, but intentionally. This is adult fantasy horror sci-fi. This is about a child named Hop, and when he awakens in an ancient labyrinth, he has no memory of his life or how he got here. He doesn't recognize the mysterious girl trapped with him, and he certainly can't identify the shadowy figure stalking him, whispering terrible things. But there's one thing he's certain of. He must escape. The only way out of the labyrinth is through the Bone Door, but it lies behind a series of locked doors hidden across an array of realms. As Hop travels deeper into the maze, he discovers that he and his companions may be more connected to the place and its horrors than he could ever imagine. All the reviews I've seen of this have basically said, we can't tell you anything. This is one of those books where you need to go in knowing nothing. I love a book where we are finding out how the world works alongside the character. I think that's what a lot of people really liked, including myself, about Project Hail Mary, where we also have a person who wakes up alone in a spaceship with no memories, and he has to discover who he is, what's the mission, etc. I really like that personally, so this sounds right up my alley, and I'm very excited for The Bone Door. Okay, February. This, at first, I wasn't sure because I'm not really a cozy fantasy girl, but when I saw who was writing it and when I read a little bit more, I'm very excited for what comes out on February 17th. This is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett, author of Emily Wilde. I know so many people who think that Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies is like written by an author named Emily Wilde. No, it is written by Heather Fawcett. This is categorized as adult fantasy romance, cozy fantasy, and historical fiction. Historical fiction because it takes place in the 1920s in Montreal. Let me read to you what it's about. Agnes Aubert leads a meticulously organized life, and she likes it that way. As the proudly Type A manager of a much-needed cat rescue charity, she's devoted her life to finding forever homes for lost cats. But after she's forced to move the cat shelter, Agnes learns that her new landlord is using her charity as a front for an internationally renowned and thoroughly disreputable magic shop owned by the disorganized, not to mention self-absorbed, irritating, and also decidedly handsome Havelock Renard, magician and failed Dark Lord. The shop draws magical clientele from all around the world. Agnes's charity offers the perfect cover. She couldn't care less about the shop, magical intrigue or not. There are cats to be rescued. But when an enemy from Havelock's past surfaces, the magic shop, and more importantly the cat shelter, are suddenly in jeopardy. To save the shelter, will Agnes have to set aside her social conscience and protect the man who once tried to bring about the apocalypse and is now trying to steal her heart? Yeah. So, yeah. One thing I love about Heather Fawcett's writing is her characters, and specifically when her characters get annoyed with each other. I love like Emily and Wendell, especially when it comes to them being organized and things like that. When they bicker about like, girl, why didn't you do the dishes? Or like, why is your house so dusty? Like things like that. I enjoy that so thoroughly. So I know that she can write quarreling between people who are like very Type A and very Type B very well. I also love books about failed villains. You know how much I love Thrown in the Dark, which is a hilarious romantasy series about a person who is supposed to be a villain and he's just not very good at being bad. So all of this intrigues me. Also, a cat shelter, a home for lost cats. I feel like even Emily Wilde has been called cozy fantasy, and to me it had cozy moments, but it wasn't just overall a cozy fantasy. So I'm hoping that this, with its like enemies and blah, 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 I hope that it will be like the right kind of cozy for me, is what I'm going with. So that is Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. Also, cool cover. Okay, next up is one I'm not sure about. It also comes out on the 17th, and it's by an author who I am aware of, but I haven't read their work. But a lot of you guys, when I asked on Instagram what your anticipated reads were, a lot of you said this, so I'm gonna add this in. This is The Sun and the Starmaker by Rachel Griffin, who wrote The Nature of Witches, which I haven't read. This is young adult fantasy and romance, and here's what Goodreads says. Nestled deep in snowy mountains, the small village of Reverie endures on a miracle. Beyond the reach of the sun, Reverie is dependent upon the magic of the mysterious Starmaker. Every morning he trudges across the vast glacier and pulls in sunlight over the peaks, providing the village with the light it needs to survive. Aurora Finch grew up on the tales of the Starmaker's magic, never imagining she'd one day meet him. But on the morning of her wedding, a fateful encounter in the frostbitten woods changes everything. The Starmaker senses a powerful magic within her and demands she come study under his guidance. The Starmaker is as cold and distant as the dark woods, leaving Aurora to explore his enchanted castle with only an immortal rabbit for company. Yet the more she discovers about the sorcerer, the stronger their ruinous attraction grows, pulling her closer to the secrets he refuses to share. A deadly frost approaches, and Aurora must uncover what the Starmaker is hiding before she is left in an endless winter that even the sun cannot touch. So I don't know, it's giving a little Beauty and the Beastie whenever there is like takes girl to enchanted castle and then abandons her there. Those are the vibes I always get. So interesting, and I think would be really good for winter if you live in a cold and snowy place. That is The Sun and the Starmaker. After that, we have what I think is a debut. This is coming out on February 24th, and it is called The Red Winter. It is adult fantasy, historical fiction, and horror. On Goodreads, there are 2 blurbs that caught my eye, and that would be Alex E. Harrow, love of my life, and the other love of my life, T. Kingfisher. And they both blurbed it and said it was amazing, and you say less. Say less. This is a devastating love story, a bewitching twist on history. It is a blood-drenched hunt for purpose, power, and redemption. So this takes place in 1785, where Professor Sebastian Grave receives the news he fears the most. The terrible beast of Gévaudan has returned, and the French countryside turns red in its wake. And it turns out that this is actually a true legend or like unexplained occurrence. This beast of Gévaudan sounds a little bit more appropriate. Anyway, it's the historic name associated with a man-eating animal or animals that terrorized south central France between 1764 and 1767. There are a lot of eyewitness accounts of these attacks. Its identity is still the subject of debate and remains unsolved to this day. The Kingdom of France used a considerable amount of wealth and manpower to hunt the animals responsible. Yeah, so it's like a real unsolved thing that happened in France, which I find is really interesting. But it's back, baby. So it went silent. 20 years later, it's back. So Sebastian has been recalled to the hunt by an estranged lover who shares a dark history with the beast and a terrible secret with Sebastian. France teeters on the edge of revolution, and Sebastian's arcane activities, not to mention his demonic counterpart, he has like a demon companion, has also attracted the inquisitorial eye of the French clergy. I love when Catholics get involved. And the beast is poised to close his jaws around them all and plunge the continent into war. So, creepy beast, demons, nosy Catholics, French Revolution. I'm all there. That is The Red Winter. Next up is one that piques my curiosity, but I gotta say, whoever wrote the Goodreads summary needs to look at that again, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense and there are literally words missing. Like, I had to retype it because there are genuinely words missing. So I worry for this book because this is a debut, and I really hope that the editors of the book are not the same people who are the writers of the Goodreads summary, okay? Just putting that out there. But here we go. It is called Weaving Shaw. Comes out on the 24th. It is adult fantasy, romance, gothic. This is a debut gothic fantasy, the first book of an enthralling fantasy romance trilogy. A young woman who can see the dead strikes a deal with a magnetic and dangerous purveyor of dark secrets to save her brother's life. 3 years ago, our girl Lena awoke with a terrible power. She can see the dead. Since then, she has hidden herself from the world, but when her beloved brother falls fatally ill, Lena barters her secret in order to buy the expensive medicine that will save his life. The Saint of Silence accepts her bargain for a deadly price. Lena must find the ghost of Percival Avon, the last Lord of Weavingshaw, or lose her freedom to the Saint forever. As Lena's search takes her and the Saint to Weavingshaw, a creepy-ass gothic manor, she finds the estate and the surrounding moors to be living things, hungry for blood and sacrifice. Fighting against Weavingshaw's might, Lena must also fight her growing pull towards the enigmatic Saint himself, whose connection to Percival Avon remains a mystery, and perhaps some secrets are better left buried. So could go either way. I'm optimistic, but somebody go fix the Goodreads, please, and thank you. And strangely enough, the last book for February, speaking of girls who enter into deadly bargains in order to save their brother from an illness, we have We Who Will Die. Yes, this comes out technically on the 27th. I got this as a book of the month book. Sometimes you get them a little bit early. Just saying. This is adult fantasy romance paranormal. What's paranormal about it? Vampires, baby. Okay, so I have in fact already read this book. I'm going to tell you what it's about and then give you my thoughts afterwards so that I don't affect you can skip it if you don't want me to affect your experience, because I've seen so many people say that they loved this book. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, here we go. Faced with an unthinkable choice, her brother is dying. Our girl, Arvel, makes a magically binding vow to do the impossible, to kill the Emperor, who happens to be an ancient vampire. But first, she has to enter the Sundering, an arena where only the fastest, strongest, and deadliest survive long enough to be selected to the Emperor's elite guard. With her brother's lives in the balance, she has no choice but to ally with a man who once shattered her heart. And with the Emperor's sadistic son, Rorik, the son, holds the key to understanding the powers Arvel is developing, abilities that would put a price on her head if discovered by the Emperor. To survive the arena and complete her mission, Arvel must get to the bottom of a conspiracy that will change everything she thought she knew about herself and the two vampires who are deeply entwined with her destiny. Okay, so yeah, it's vampires, but also gladiators. Okay, you've got mortals with magic, and then you've got vampires. Okay, and gonna be honest, this did nothing for me. This did nothing for me. This was at times incredibly predictable in terms of like the big aha moments, but in terms of like the world building and how things worked, I couldn't guess what was happening because it was so messy. Things just weren't explained very well. Things were happening so easily for our girl. She's also really dumb. I just, really didn't enjoy this. And also the love interests are so Tamlin and Rhysand coded, if you know what I mean. So it was just, it just was truly empty for me. And in terms of like the whole gladiator competitions, there's a bunch of different trials she has to pass. Those trials passed in the blink of an eye. And then the actual like training and all of this stuff goes on for forever, but also it doesn't, like we don't ever see, I got nothing from this, but also I've seen so many people dying over this. So as always, take my experience, it's a grain of salt, but that is We Who Will Die. Unfortunately, not for me, but it does come out on the 24th of February for you. There you go. And then we enter March, inching towards spring. We have on March 3rd, Green and Deadly Things. This is adult fantasy, high fantasy, sci-fi. This is a page-turning standalone fantasy of necromancy and magical mayhem. Yes, please. It says, centuries ago, necromancy almost destroyed the world. That's how history remembers it. History remembers it wrong. So we have, I believe it's Mataic. Mataic has trained his whole life to join the sacred order of the Adalic Knights, charged with defending their world from the forces of necromancy. Only vestiges of that cursed magic remain. Nothing like the fabled days of the Grimlords, the undead wizards who once nearly destroyed the world. I love that name, the Grimlords. But when an even stranger kind of monster begins to wake, the knights quickly prove powerless to stop them. So it's a good thing then that the Grimlords were never truly destroyed. One of their numbers sleeps below the knight's very fortress. And when an army of twisted tree monsters attacks the young initiates in his charge, Matt decides to do the unthinkable. He wakes her up. The threat of this wild magic attacking them, the tree monsters, is part of a cycle that is repeated countless times. Life after death, chaos after order. And if she and Matt can't find a new way to balance the scales, this won't just be the end of the world as they know it, but the end of all life everywhere. I love weird botanical horror magic. I love when people need to unlearn things that they have been taught. So yeah, I've heard great things about this and I am very excited. That is Green and Deadly Things. Next up, coming out on March 4th is another one that I have. It's a very shiny book. If I can get it in the light. It's like blinding. I have to move this around my living room because the sun, as it moves throughout the day, I'm like constantly blinded. This is Rings of Fate. I got it from Book of the Month. It's coming out March 4th, apparently. This is adult fantasy romance, folks. Okay, here we go. She is a barmaid that doesn't believe in fairy tales, and he's a prince cursed to live one. We have Erin, who has no interest in being anybody's princess. She's too busy running the Ravenspeak Tavern. But when a brush with death and a dangerously handsome stranger upends her life, Erin finds herself bound to a bargain that could change everything. And then we have Prince Dayton. A curse is killing him. The enemies are closing in. To make the journey to reverse his curse, he needs a bride to hide his secrets. Why? I'll find out. Erin wants freedom, and pretending to be his fiancé could give them both what they want. But as their perilous journey pits them against political schemes and a monstrous Killendraar, the fate of two kingdoms may depend on whether a cynical barmaid and a cursed prince are willing to risk their hearts. Yeah, I haven't actually heard any review of this book, but I've heard other people are excited for it. Somebody said that this was based off of The Princess Bride. I can't quite see how. I'm not sure, but either way, it really could go either way. I'm hoping that this is a book that doesn't take itself too seriously. I find that I have much more fun with romantasy that has a bit of comedy to it. But look at these chapter headers. All right. That wasn't a spoiler, but the chapter just starts with, well, that night was shitty. So I will read that, but it comes out, what did I say, on the 4th? Yeah, the 4th of March. Rings of Fate. Following that, immense excitement and confusion, not gonna lie, but also excitement. This is coming out on the 10th. It is called Hell's Heart. It is adult sci-fi horror. This is by Alexis Hall, who wrote Boyfriend Material, which I really didn't like, but also A Lady for a Duke, which I really liked. So we will see. This is being comped. This is being comped to Gideon the Ninth and Moby Dick. Okay, let me read to you. I edited it a bit to shorten it, but let me read to you what Goodreads says this is about. This is the Earth done for. Okay, we fucked it up to the point of no return. Having long exhausted any conventional sources of energy, life in the solar system is now sustained by a volatile hallucinogenic substance called spermaceti? Spermaceti. I don't know. Which is harvested from the brains of leviathans that swim the atmospheric currents of Jupiter. So there are like giant dolphins swimming around Jupiter. Okay, that's where we get our energy source from. Now, finding herself with no money and no connections, the narrator, I, takes a commission aboard a ship as it sets out in pursuit of these creatures. Once aboard, she finds herself pulled inexorably in the orbit of her captain, a charismatic but fanatically driven woman who the narrator names only as A. As they plunge ever deeper into the turbulent, monster-haunted atmosphere of the gas giant, the narrator begins to lose herself. Oh, hallucinogenics. Is this going to all be a fever dream? I'm excited. The only thing that might keep her grounded is the bond she develops with Q, a woman from the wreck of old Earth whose skin is marked with holographic light and who remembers things otherwise lost. I don't know. Giant dolphins. It's queer. It's got hallucinations. We're in space. I'm willing to give it a go. Alexis Hall has been 50-50. This is their sci-fi debut. Intrigued. March is going to be a crazy month, by the way. Also coming out on the 10th is When I Was Death. This is young adult horror, fantasy, and speculative fiction. This is by Alexis Henderson, who wrote The Year of the Witching, The House of Hunger, and Academy for Liars. And just listen to the very first sentence of this. A group of teen girls does death incarnate's bidding in this haunting, speculative young adult novel. Yeah. I love when teen girls are freaky, and this is exactly what it is. This is about Rosalind Folk, who isn't herself anymore. It's been a year since her sister died in the woods under mysterious circumstances, and Rosalind is still tormented by her absence. So when the elusive caravan of girls that her sister spent her last summer with rolls back into town, Rosalind joins them to finally figure out what happened to her sister. Strange, beautiful, and intriguing, the girls are closed off from the world, And as it turns out, they're brought together by a force more sinister than Rosalind's nightmares could have conjured. Death himself. So up until the deal with Death, this really reminded me of The Honeys, or is it just Honeys? Which is like a horror summer camp book in which a sibling of our main character dies, and they go to this summer camp to like try to retrace her steps and figure out what happened. And there's this group called the Honeys, and they're just like beautiful and weird, and I really liked that. So I'm hoping that this one is the same. I didn't love Academy for Liars, unfortunately. I did like The Year of the Witching, but the Academy for Liars had such a great premise and then really fell flat for me. So I'm hoping that this isn't the case. I'm hoping that coming back into horror is more of Alexis's game. So that is When I Was Death, coming out on the 10th. Really quickly, because I have no information about it, coming out on the 24th is a collection of short stories by Amal El-Motar called Seasons of Glass and Iron. I believe most of these stories have been published elsewhere, and this is more of just an anthology. It says that it is full of glimpses into gleaming worlds and fairy tales with teeth. Seasons of Glass and Stories is a collection of acclaimed and awarded work from Amal El-Motar. These stories are told in letters, diary entries, reference materials, folk tales, and lyrical prose, and it's full of her Nebula, Locust, World Fantasy, and Hugo Award-winning and nominated stories. So, it's not 100% new work, but I've actually never read any of their short stories other than I've read This Is How We Lose the Time War, love, and The River Has Roots, love. So I feel like this will be something really wonderful to have and just be able to crack open at any time. So that is Seasons of Glass and Iron, coming out on the 24th. And then the last two of March. This woman is insane. Okay, the 24th of March, we get a T. Kingfisher book. We clap, we cheer, we scream. But then in August, we get another T. Kingfisher book. And then in October, we get another T. Kingfisher novella. The way in which words just flow out of T. Kingfisher, and the words are good. Like, I've never not enjoyed a story by T. Kingfisher. What magic is she cooking with? I don't know. So yeah, I will mention those later in the video, but in terms of our March release, we have I can't say this, Wolfworm. This is adult horror, fantasy, gothic, and historical fiction. Something darker than the devil stalks the North Carolina woods. The year is 1899, and Sonia Wilson is a scientific illustrator without work, prospects, or hope when the reclusive Dr. Halder offers her a position illustrating his vast collection of insects. Sonia jumps at the chance to move to his North Carolina manor house, but soon enough, she finds that there are darker things at work than the Carolina woods. What happened to her predecessor? Halder's wife? Why are the animals acting so strangely? And what is behind the peculiar local whispers about blood thieves? Sonia discovers that Halder's entomological studies have taken him down a dark road. Here's the horror part, full of parasitic maggots that burrow into human flesh, and that his monstrous experiments may grow to encompass his newest illustrator as well. I am obsessed with T. Kingfisher, period, full sentence, but I'm also obsessed with the way that they can write the coziest, most heartwarming, lovely fantasy romances, and then also just the ickiest, scariest horror and thriller. Like, the twisted things, or the twisted ones, genuinely gave me goosebumps and had me so frightened. Who Moves the Dead? Is that what it's called? Gross. Also weirdly heartwarming. Like, I love that main character so much, but also just like icky, damp, gross. So fully trust her to give us amazing characters and really gross stuff. In this case, bugs. So yeah, I'm so excited for Wolfworm to be able to peek inside her brain. I would give years of my life for that. And our final winter release, which technically is in spring, okay, go with me here. This is coming out on the 31st of March. It is called This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me. This is by Ilona Andrews. This is adult fantasy romance. I have read 2 books by this author, and this author is actually a husband and wife team, which just boggles my mind. I've read 2 books by this author. They are so fun. Urban fantasies, funny characters, just like a good time. And this sounds like a really funny, weird time, like all of their other books. This is a page-turning, unforgettable fantasy set in a city peopled with ruffians, spies, malcontents, and murderers. Experience this out-of-this-world adventure and dangerous politics as Maggie tries to survive, waking up in her favorite fictional world. When Maggie wakes up cold, filthy, and naked in a gutter, it doesn't take her long to recognize Caer Torin. It's a city she knows intimately from the pages of a famously unfinished dark fantasy series, one she's been obsessively reading and rereading while waiting years for the final novel. Alecto? Is that you? Guys, I know, she's not on the list, unfortunately. Maggie's only tools for navigating this gritty world of rival warlords, magic, and mayhem, her encyclopedic knowledge of the plot, the setting, and the characters' ambitions. But while she quickly discovers she cannot be killed, though many will try, the same cannot be said for the living, breathing characters she's coming to love. A motley band that includes a former lady's maid, a deadly assassin, various outrageous magical creatures, and a dangerously appealing soldier. And this is the start of a new series for them. I think that as an author, the 2 of them are intimidating just because they've written so much, and it's sort of like, where do I start? But this is the beginning of one, and it could be a good time. So there you have it for our winter selection. I will see you a little bit later in spring. Okay, a new day, a new season. We are jumping into spring, and I realized December, I realized that I forgot how to split up the seasons. I got to spring and I was like, why do I only have 2 months? Because March is considered spring. Anyway, you learn something new every day. Okay, anyway, diving into April. Now, these are all going to be books that I haven't read yet, so I'm pretty much just going to give you the bare bones information that I have. We're going to do this a little bit quicker than last time. If there is an author that I like, I will tell you my thoughts on them, but if I don't know anything else, I'm just going to tell you what I know. Tons of books coming out April 7th. Do books usually come out on like a Sunday, a Tuesday? And then what was the other one? May 5th had a lot. Also a Tuesday. Okay, so it seems like Tuesday, correct me if I'm wrong, publishing people. Tuesday is a pretty popular day for publishing books. Doesn't matter for the sake of this video. Anyway, April 7th, in no particular order. The Subtle Art of Folding Space by John Chu. This is adult science fiction fantasy. From what I gather, it is about a girl who is living in some distant future, and she finds that the way to cure her mom's disease is also the way that is destroying the earth, and how do you make that choice? So let me read it to you. Ellie's universe, and this one, is falling apart. Her ailing mother is in a coma. Her sister Chris accuses her of being insufficiently Chinese, and a shadowy cabal of engineers is trying to hijack the Skunk Works, the machinery that keeps the physics of each universe working the way it's supposed to. Ellie's cousin has found an illicit machine in the Skunk Works, one that keeps Ellie's comatose mother alive, while also creating destabilizing bugs in the physics of the universe. It's not a good day. And soon, Ellie will be forced to choose between her family and the universe itself. It contains unhinged physics, generational trauma, and the comfort of a really good dim sum. So yes, I love the cover, by the way. Whoever did that, props to you. Another work of science fiction coming out on the 7th is called What We Are Seeking. I personally love this trope or storytelling style, so I feel like I'm going to be really interested in it. Not sure it's going to hit for everyone. This is adult sci-fi fantasy. This is a soaring novel of queer hope and transformation. We're dealing with this planet called Scythia. Our main character, John, who is a doctor from another planet, has been abandoned here, light years from the peaceful forest that he loves. The desert is harsh, and the people adhere to a barbaric custom called marriage. He must find some way to make a life here. But on Scythia, survival means transformation, and not everyone is willing to accept change. Basically, Cameron Reed tells Reactor in an interview that it's got weird biology, alien languages, and a surprising amount of cooking, but mainly it's about how to make a life when you're forced to live among people with radically different customs, whether they're human, alien, or AI. Basically, John's home planet, this doctor, they do not believe in marriage or like monogamy. And so coming to a planet that does, and also like the biology is very different here, like trees create insects, whatever. I don't know. It could go either way, but I'm interested. I love when a person is like stranded in a completely different culture. So that is what we are seeking. And then we get a book from an author I do know and genuinely love, but I have such a complicated relationship with. This is Kelly Andrew. The book is called The Gravewood. It is YA fantasy paranormal romance. It's got vampires in it. And the thing I love and hate about Kelly Andrew is that she creates really great characters, but they are all in the same world. It's not communicated very well that those worlds are connected until probably the last 25% of the book. Her first 3 books are all taking place in the same world and all the characters know each other, but you don't know that. Very annoying. So I'm hoping that this one, it really sounds like it's in a different world, and I'm praying, but I swear to God, if those characters from the first book pop up again, I just don't know what to do. Also, Kelly Andrew, I believe, is deaf, and a lot of characters that she writes deals with that. Yeah, she lost her hearing when she was 4 years old. I feel like I learn a lot when I read her books because like there are just certain things that like people who are hard of hearing or people who are deaf, the ways that they like tweak their lives a little bit, really cool. So like I genuinely love Kelly Andrew. I just wish that she would leave some characters behind. So what is The Gravewood about? In all caps it says, is it love or is it bloodlust? Shay Parker has lived her entire life in the shadow of the Gravewood, a deadly forest that's cut her town off from the world. With resources dwindling, she's forced to ration her hearing aid batteries, and when her stash runs out, she'll be left in silence. Her only hope is Oliver Lysander, the volatile leader of the vampires who rule the Gravewood. Okay. Their deal is simple. She gives him her blood. He brings her her batteries. No lines crossed. Nothing personal. That is until Shay's best friend is lured into the Gravewood, and that best friend's brother returns from the front lines, willing to expose Shay's darkest secrets to get his sister back. Ever the opportunist, Lysander offers a new bargain. If the brother kills his vampire rival for him, he'll help find the missing girl. And if Shay agrees to turn, he'll cure her ailing mother. Every deal pulls her closer to Lysander and to becoming a monster herself. So much potential. It feels so early 2000s paranormal romance coded. I cannot wait. That is The Gravewood. Okay, the next one sounds crazy. And actually a lot of you guys did put this when I put up an Instagram story asking about your anticipated reads. Quite a few of you said this, so glad we got some freaky people in this club. This is called Year of the Mer. It is adult fantasy, maybe a romance, definitely a retelling. And this is a dark, bloody, epic fantasy reimagining of The Little Mermaid. It explores family legacy, war, what we sacrificed for vengeance. The perfect read for fans of The Priory of the Orange Tree and Circe. So, this is following the granddaughter of Ariel. Yemi's not having a great time. Ariel got her happily ever after. Yemi, not so much. Her father, who is the king, just got assassinated. But apparently we're not crying too hard because he was maybe a piece of shit. But that's all going to be okay because Yemi is going to take over. She's going to take the throne. She's going to fix everything. Okay? Wrong. The kingdom's discontented rumblings reach a fever pitch, and coups erupt. Yemi's throne is usurped, stripping her of her family and forcing her into exile. Now, only one being has the power to help her. A little someone named Ursula. Yes, like her grandmother before her, Yemi is tempted to deal with the sea witch. She's thinking avenging family, taking back her throne. Okay? She's not thinking Ursula has been biding her goddamn time and waiting for an opportunity to make another deal with this freaking mermaid family, okay? It may take more fortune than Yemi possesses to keep her from losing everything all over again. The author has described the book as I love this. On one hand, it is a sapphic tragedy, but on the other hand, it is a harrowing beach read. For spring break. And then our final release on April 7th, that I know of. Another book coming out that is a YA fantasy romance is called To Steal a Throne. And at first, reading this, I was sort of like, okay, this, whatever, sounds like every other book I've read. Until we get to one particular sentence, and then I was locked in. So let me read it to you, okay? So this is a YA fantasy novel, perfect for fans of divine rivals. A girl who has always served others decides to take power for herself. Okay, so we've got a girl, Mira, who runs the court of Verde from the shadows. Ever since she helped her half-brother Luke cheat his way into the role of Verde's leader, she's used her lie-powered magic to collect secrets from members of the court, then use them as blackmail to keep her brother in power. But when newcomer Kydron shows up and challenges Luke's leadership, he threatens the stability Mira has worked so hard for, because he also has magic. Magic that can detect the precise nature of someone else's power with a single touch. If Kydron so much as brushes against her, everyone will discover Mira is the one who's been manipulating the court for years. As Kydron and Luke compete in 3 deadly challenges called the Trials, so here's where I started to lose interest. And then Mira realizes, no matter who wins, she'll be stuck serving a mediocre man who doesn't deserve to be in charge. She's done hiding in the shadows. She wants power of her own. To get it, she has to betray her own brother and Kydron, but the fiercer the competition gets, the more Mira realizes that the only boy who could destroy everything is the one boy she might not be able to resist. So don't love how that ended, but I love that when she's like, wait a damn minute, neither of these guys deserve to run the show. Okay? Like, they're mediocre men. Here I am, pulling the strings. I feel like it could be very funny and just very vindicating. So that is To Steal a Throne, coming out April 7th. Coming out on the 14th, this is another one that so many of you guys are interested in, so I went immediately to my library. I was like, I know there's going to be competition. Tried to get that on hold. I have it notifying me when my library gets it, okay? This is, of course, Deadly Fates, YA fantasy romance. It is being compared to Descendant of the Crane, loved, The Bone Shard Daughter, didn't read, and A Magic Steeped in Poison, loved. So I'm all ears. This is about a corpse-driving priestess. She is a holy servant paid to guide the deceased home. She's usually not scared of death, deals with it all the time. But when her father gets sick, she realizes, oh wait, mortality is really fucking scary. And she is ready to do anything to get the medicine that her father needs. So she takes on a very dangerous job, going to pick up the corpse of a missing prince. She travels through hostile lands to pick it up, and when she puts the little talisman on his head to reanimate him, just to like help him walk, okay? He's not supposed to actually wake up. The prince actually wakes up. The prince is actually alive, not just like a corpse that she can walk to safety, okay? But he's not going to stay alive for very long. Not unless he absorbs enough chi to keep his soul anchored to his body. Now, our girl is like, I was sent here to deliver a dead body. What if I bring the prince back alive? That sounds like a reward. Sounds like my reward just doubled. Okay, so she's hellbent on keeping this boy alive. So she agrees to aid the frustratingly handsome prince in finding and purifying evil spirits for their chi. But as they journey across the countryside, encountering vengeful ghosts and enemy spies, they gradually uncover dark secrets about the prince's death. Secrets that could endanger both her father and their entire kingdom. In ghosts, necromancy, kind of. I understand why this is on everybody's list. Very excited for that one. Next up is a work leaning more on the horror side with fantasy. Like the fantasy element is like maybe there are ghosts. So this one is sort of on here just because I'm anticipating it, not because it necessarily fits the theme. This is Japanese Gothic. It is categorized as adult horror, historical fiction, and fantasy. This is by Kylie Lee Baker. I didn't love her young adult work. She wrote a young adult fantasy that I just like could not get into, but she recently wrote a kind of horror novel related to COVID called Bat Eater that I thought was really good. So I think that her bag is more in the adult writing sphere. So I'm very excited for this one, and I will read it to you. October 2026. which is crazy because this comes out April 2026, so she's writing from the future. That's amazing. October 2026. Leigh Turner doesn't remember how or why he killed his college roommate. The details are blurred and bloody. All he knows is he has to flee New York and go to one place that might offer refuge, his father's new home in Japan, a house hidden by sword ferns and wild ginger. But something is terribly wrong with the house. No animals will come near it. The bedroom window isn't always a window. And a woman with a sword appears in the yard when night falls. October 1877. Shen is a young samurai in exile, hiding from the imperial soldiers in a house behind the sword ferns. A monster came home from war wearing her father's face, but Shen would do anything to please him, even turn her sword on her own mother. She knows the soldiers will soon slaughter her whole family when she sees a terrible omen, a young foreign man who appears outside her window. One of these people is a ghost, and one of these stories is a lie. Something is hiding beneath the house of sword ferns, and Leigh and Shen will soon wish they never unburied it. Oh, I love both of them think they're being haunted by each other. And I love a creepy ass Japanese house. Like, I had this really long phase where I was into Japanese horror films, and it, for me, things like The Grudge, for example, like the Japanese version of The Grudge, it wasn't necessarily, like, there were many scary things in that movie, right? But something about just the house, like looking at the house from the street, being like, do not go in that house. Love it. I would love for this to capture the same energy. I'm very interested. That is Japanese Gothic, coming out April 21st. And then our last book for April, some say it's coming out April 30th. Some say May 12th. Just keep your eyes peeled, okay? Mid-spring. This is an adult fantasy romance, dark academia as well. This is called Deathbringer. It is for fans of Naomi Novik and Cari Maniscalco. She did Kingdom of the Wicked and also Stalking Jack the Ripper, which I had a good time with for a hot second, and then I did not have a good time. But anyway, this is a dark academia romantasy steeped in necromancy, forbidden love, and a twisty murder mystery set within the perilous halls of a magical institute, as a death mage who hates her magic and a poison mage who hates her are forced to work together to stop a killer before one of them is next. You could have ended it there and I'm already sold. I'm intrigued. I would love to read this, but let's go into it a little bit more. Born with the ability to speak with the dead, Viola hates her magic. It killed her sister, and if she doesn't learn why, it will kill her too. Her only hope lies within the perilous halls of Gorhale Institute of Magic, where her sister spent her final days. There, Viola clashes with Silas, a poison mage, whose magic stems from 3 magical snakes. What? Okay. Immortal, tormented, and reckless, Silas is tethered to a life he never asked for and haunted by guilt for his father's death. His hatred for death mages runs deep, and he's determined to keep Viola at a distance. But when an attack forces him to heal her, their fates become intertwined by a magical bond that threatens to upend his loyalties and his common sense. As more students start turning up dead, Viola and Silas are drawn into an uneasy alliance that pulls them deeper into Gorhale's treacherous passageways, where secrets fester beneath the stone and the dead do not rest. I'm still confused by the magical snakes, but overall I'm very excited about this book. Yeah, this is called Deathbringer. Whenever it comes out, I'm excited for it. So there's that. And then we enter the month of May. This one sounds really weird. It's being compared to Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. It's called Homebound. It is adult science fiction, historical fiction, coming out on the 5th. A lot of books, again, Tuesdays. We love Tuesdays. Coming out on the 5th. So Homebound, 600 years, 5 interlocking lives, 1 computer game, and the many paths that can lead them home. So the book starts, it is 1983, and Bex can't wait to get the hell out of Cincinnati. But for now, she has work to do. Her programmer uncle, the only person who understood her, has left her a half-finished game to complete. What Bex is coding will outlast her by centuries and shape the lives of a scientist, an astronaut, and a desperate pirate captain in ways she can't imagine. It will connect these 4 pioneering women across centuries, vast oceans, and far distant planets, and introduce them to a remarkable robot destined to gather together this disparate crew. Homebound is a coming out and a coming of age story, a wild and precarious sea adventure, a space odyssey. As it slips through time, loss, creativity, found family, it journeys deep into humanity's future and capacity for love. I don't know how that's gonna work, but sounds wonderful. I don't play video games, computer games in general. I just don't. But I love reading about them. I love reading about coding and like constructing the story and things like that. So yeah, this could go completely off the rails. And maybe that's a good thing, but that's Homebound. And after that, one that I think everybody's really excited for, also coming out on the 5th, is called A Girl with 1,000 Faces. This is adult horror, historical fiction, and fantasy. This is a gothic tale set in Hong Kong. Sold. Could have stopped right there. That meshes ancient myths and local legends into a haunting story of ghosts, grief, and women who do not forgive. When Mercy Chan washed up on the shores of Hong Kong with no family, no money, and no memories, she was thrust into the horrors of World War II. She only survived by hiding in the Kowloon-walled city, an infamous ghost-infested slum. Since the end of the war, she has rebuilt her life and found work with a local triad as a ghost talker, dealing with the angry, bitter spirits who haunt this place. These days, the filthy gutters and cramped alleyways of Kowloon feel like home, but the past she can't remember won't let her go. Mercy is drawn into a deadly cat-and-mouse game with a malignant spirit. She begins to realize that the monster she fights within these walls may well be one of her own making. Yes, thank you. So excited. A Girl with 1,000 Faces, coming out May 5th. Yeah, you will be fighting me in the library line for that one. But the one that I think everybody is excited for, the one that was on the top of everyone's list, is the next one. Also coming out May 5th, okay? What a wonderful Tuesday. And this is, of course, The Last Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. This is adult fantasy sci-fi. We love Fonda Lee in this house. This is the author of Jade City. I really like Jade City, but I only read the first one. And I know that people who are fans of that series are probably like screaming at the screen. I know. But I just like, there were so many characters. I didn't have enough time. I knew my brain was going to forget the plot of the first one before I could get my hands on the second. I love her writing. I love her short stories. She wrote one recently that was like one of my favorite reads of last year. Love her writing. So excited. So what is The Last Contract of Isako about? This is a searing standalone space opera where corporate samurai fight beneath merciless stars and death is always a mere breath away. Isako is a legendary swordswoman, but every legend has to come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow, to walk out into the frozen wasteland of her planet with her head held high and her family enriched by her legacy. But when a competitor offers her a final mission, it's one she can't refuse. Soon, she's thrust deep into a world of corporate espionage, duty-bound duels, and shadowy secrets. What she uncovers will change humanity's experience with the stars forever. I don't know about that, but I know that Fonda Lee, for some reason, writes like mafia, crime syndicates really well. I don't want to know why. For my safety, she writes them so well. The connections, the intrigue, oof. So I'm very, very excited. I also love that this is a standalone. Thank you, Fonda. So that is coming out on the 5th. Do with that information what you will. The next one is one I haven't heard people talking about, but I'm really excited simply because of the comps. Okay, if you're gonna tell me that this book is similar to A Memory Called Empire, one of my favorite books, I'm gonna need to have it in my hands like right now. I needed it yesterday. This is called The Republic of Memory, adult sci-fi fantasy, coming out on the 5th. It is A Memory Called Empire meets Children of Time in this Arab futurist debut set on a generation ship on the brink of revolution as its crew begin to ask why they should toil for a people, for an empire that none of them remember. This city ship is halfway through its 400-year voyage from the ruins of Earth to a new colony. Its crew maintain the ship generation after generation while protecting their ancestors in cryostasis. so that one day they will be able to enjoy a fresh start under clear blue skies. But when blackouts start, unrest follows. The ship can only continue to run smoothly with the cooperation of the crew, and the crew has had enough. As coordinated acts of resistance coincide with a much more complex conspiracy, a chain of events is set into motion that will change life on the ship forever. Inspired by the real-world events of the Arab Spring, The Republic of Memory is a bold interrogation of empire and an energizing portrait of revolution. Sold. Potentially the one that I'm most excited for in spring, which is saying a lot. That's literally all I know. This is a debut. I have nothing else to go on. This is The Republic of Memory. It also has 2 different covers and both of them are really cool. So I just kind of have faith in the publishing team behind it. It's a low bar. It's a low bar these days. And our very last 2 for spring are by authors that I do know. And I'm very excited for both of these. So our last one coming out on the 5th is Verity Guild. This is an adult fantasy romance. This is by Mai Corlin, who wrote 5 Broken Blades, which I thought her writing style was perfect for getting me out of a reading slump. It's so easy to read. You can eat it up. But her writing style in the sense of how she paces her stories, I tried to read the second book, and so I read the first book again to get into the second one. Could not do it. It's very repetitive. She ends things on a cliffhanger every time. It's just rough to read. It's kind of like bad TV. But that being said, I am still interested in what she writes because she did so easily get me out of a reading slump. So let me tell you about Verity Guild, okay? After her father's untimely death, Cari becomes High Priestess of the Temple of Truth, and the people of Prior look to her for guidance. What they don't know is that she's hiding a secret that could bring the regime down. Praetorian and revered soldier Moniquill lost everything at the hands of Cari's father, and years later, he still seeks revenge. When a beheaded body of a senator is found with the ceremonial dagger of the temple beside him, Cari and Moniquill's paths become inextricably linked, and they set off on a path neither would expect. Yeah, I'm not super sure. This was also very questionably comped to A Court of Silver Flames, which makes me want to die. So I'm really unsure. I'm excited tentatively, but there are so many red flags waving before me. So we will see. That's Verity Guild. I will read it. You betcha I'll read it. But I'll read it with my heart protected. Okay? And then the very last one is one I'm so excited for. This is coming out May 12th. It is, I didn't write it down. It's, I believe, adult fantasy dystopian romance. Yes, it is dystopian fantasy, excuse me. And it is by Veronica Roth. Once again, famously, have never read Divergent, but I did read her new work, which is When Among Crows to Clutch a Razor. Adore that series. It was on my list of favorite books 2 years in a row. Love what she's doing with that. And I also read The Chosen Ones, which wasn't my favorite just because of the content, but in terms of the writing and character construction and things like that, I really love what she's been doing. And so for her to write an adult fantasy, very excited. It is called Seek the Traitor's Son, and it is about Elegy An did not ask for destiny to find her. She's happy with her life as a soldier, defending her small country from the Talisar, a powerful nation who worships a deadly fever, a fever that blesses half of its victims with mysterious gifts. But then she's summoned to hear a prophecy. Her and the most ruthless of Talisar generals, Rava Vidar. Brought face to face, they learn that one of them will lead their people to victory over the other. But they don't know which. And at the center of both of their fates, a man. A man that, Elegy is told, she will fall in love with. In just one day, Elegy's old life, her job, her purpose, her future, is over. She and Rava are destined to collide, with the fate of their nations hanging in the balance. And when they do, only one will be left standing. Elegy intends to make sure it's her. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not so sure about what I just read, but do I trust Veronica Roth? Yes. So there we go. Those are the 14 I think, yeah, 14 books coming out in spring. A lot to look forward to. A lot of revolution, a lot of dystopian, a lot of distrust of who's in power. I wonder why that's a theme. There you have it. There is spring, and I will see you in summer. Welcome to summer, a book that I'm so excited for. And I gotta be honest with you, I have the arc. I actually have it in my email. It's one of those things where you're like so excited to read it that you don't want to start because you can only read it for the first time once, you know? Top of my list to read. I think I'm going to read it on the airplane actually in February. But anyway, picture this. It's the 2nd of June. You go to the bookstore and what do you pick up? The Secret World of Briar Rose by the Cindy Pham. Yes. Cindy, love of my life. So this like full disclaimer, whatever review I have will definitely be biased, but Cindy is the reason I'm on BookTube, actually. Not to go too deep into my lore, but I loved Six of Crows. I wanted to talk about it. I had no idea that BookTube was a thing, and I just happened to stumble upon her hilarious review of Six of Crows, and I was like, wait a damn minute, because I had already been on YouTube for years doing like travel videos, and I was like, wait, I can talk about books. And thanks to her just being a wonderful presence and also just her being really encouraging, she really is a wonderful part of the book community. I am here today talking to you, so it's a really wonderful full circle moment. She's also like written before. This might be her debut in terms of traditionally publishing, but I remember one time she talked about like she showed the books that she wrote in high school. Like this is not just like she got an opportunity and she's gonna write a book kind of thing. Like she has been writing for decades, and so this is just really, really cool to see it be published and celebrated this way. So anyway, enough of me fangirling. The Secret World of Briar Rose. This is young adult fantasy romance, okay? It is a lush and immersive queer Sleeping Beauty retelling about escapism, grief, and dreaming of a better world. I also would love to know, has anyone written papers about this? Every Sleeping Beauty retelling I've ever read has been queer, and I just want to know. Like, no complaints. I just want to know. Like, that, I think that's so interesting. 100 years have passed since the last heir of Glyden fell into eternal slumber and doomed the once mighty kingdom into poverty and invasion. At least, that's what the fairy tales claim. Corinne is a jaded thief. I love that name. Okay. Corinne is a jaded thief who doesn't believe in fables. Even when she searches Glyden's underground tunnels to find her younger sister Ellie, who ran away to find the sleeping princess in hopes of a better life. Corinne's conviction is challenged when she discovers the ruins of the ancient castle, maintained by beings from the kingdom's golden age, who protect a hidden portal into Princess Amelia's subconscious. Following Ellie's voice, Corinne jumps in the portal and seals the entry behind her. Inside the lush whirl of Amelia's dreams, the sisters reunite for a new adventure as they meet Briar Rose, Amelia's whimsical alter ego, and Malison, a sharp-tongued demon with a gift for magic. But as they explore ice castles, sunflower mazes, and star-filled oceans, Corinne suspects Briar Rose is hiding darker secrets behind her perfect paradise, and that there are some things their subconscious can't bury forever. So I have seen like the teeny tiniest peek behind the curtain and things that Cindy really worked on to like try and get right. So sudden tears. She just worked really, really hard on this and I'm really proud of her. Oh my God, what's happening? Yeah, this is very personal to her. It covers a lot of dark things. It's extremely vulnerable for her to write. I'm gonna take a second, but yeah, truly so excited to see it in the world. And can't wait to see what she cooks up next. I'm back. You know that time of the month is right around the corner when I just like suddenly get like this wave of tears. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Also coming out on the 2nd of June is a book called Sublimination. This is adult sci-fi and speculative fiction. And this, I'm almost certain, already has a TV adaptation in the works. It is being called a Past Lives meets Severance mashup, which is crazy. So I'm very excited. This is what it is about. Doppelgangers, corporate intrigue, heartbreak, betrayal, and the harsh permanence of the border. Sublimination is a thrilling and provocative debut for fans of Severance, that's me, The Border, cuts you in two. When you immigrate, you leave a copy of yourself behind. An instance. One person enters their new country, the other stays trapped at home. Ooh. Some instances keep in touch, call each other daily, keeping their lives and minds in sync in the hopes of reintegrating and resuming a life as one person. Others, like So-young Rose Kung, leave home at 10 years old and never speak to their other selves again. Rose, in America, never imagined going back to Korea until her grandfather died and her Korean instance called her home for the funeral. She doesn't know that So-young plans to steal her body and her life. How far would you go to live the choice you didn't make? Okay, as you can tell, cold read that. I knew vaguely Past Lives meets Severance, but I didn't read the rest of it. Okay, on board. Actually, I'm gonna make sure that I'm opening Libby right now. My goal for this video is to be in front of all of you, in line, at my libraries. Hold on, Sublimin. I can't find it. Usually it shows up as like you can notify. Anyway, so that's a problem I'm gonna solve right after I stop this video. Sublimination coming out June 2nd. Also coming out on June 2nd, this is another one that I don't know anything about simply because I like the author. This is The Unicorn Hunters. It is adult fantasy historical romance, and it's by Catherine Arden, who wrote The Warm Hands of Ghosts, The Bear and the Nightingale, etc. So really just lush, very fairy tale feeling fantasies. Warm Hands of Ghosts was a really interesting mix of fantasy and historical fiction, and apparently that is what this one is most similar to, so I'm quite excited. This says, with her country's future and her own life at stake, an orphaned duchess must journey into the world of myth and there discover a power that may be her salvation or her demise. We are following Anne of Brittany, and as a child, her realm was invaded, her home besieged, her father driven to his death. Now her treasury is empty, her land occupied by her enemies, and she's ordered, under threat of renewed war, to become queen of her conquerors and marry the King of France. This marriage means her country's annexation, but Anne promised her father that Brittany would never be conquered. Defiantly, she betroths herself in secret to France's greatest enemy, but in a world where courts may spy on each other by magic, there's the fantasy element, there's only one way to solemnize this illicit union. Anne takes her court deep into a legendary forest where the court's diviner's skills cannot reach her. The world thinks they are only a hunting party, coursing after unicorns, but that's a lie, a trick. No one in living memory has seen a unicorn. All Anne wants is this secret wedding, which is her only hope of salvation. But when against all hope, a unicorn appears, and a stranger out of legend stumbles from a tree and falls at her feet. Anne is plunged into a world of enchantment, where a doomed sovereign might find the power to change her own and her country's destiny, or be lost in the shadows forever. So yeah, I don't really know what the hell that's about. I just know that I love Catherine's writing style. Also, I don't think I've really read anything from that particular time period. Oh my gosh, I was so close. I've been to Mont Saint-Michel, but I technically haven't, I don't think, set foot in Brittany. Anyway, coming out on the 2nd, that is The Unicorn Hunters. And then our last June 2nd release, June 2nd, we're going every which way in terms of books that are coming out, because this next one, very interesting. Okay, I love the cover. It is called The Children, and it is an adult fantasy horror / thriller. Wait, what has she written? Hold on. Oh, okay, this is why she's on the list. Okay, I understand myself now. This is by Melissa Aubert, who has written The Hazelwood, which I loved that writing style, but I was completely lost in the sauce in terms of the actual plot, which I feel like is what a lot of people thought, but it's like a book about books, and I love that. It's a book about like this book of old fairy tales, and maybe they're true. Like, oh, delicious writing, delicious premise, execution a little okay. Then she wrote Our Crooked Hearts, which was another like weird, creepy YA, which I really liked. So I know that I love her young adult fiction. This, I think, might be her adult debut, and it is also about books. Here we go. This is an intoxicating, haunting new novel in which the estranged adult children of a legendary author, written into their dead mother's beloved fantasy series, contend with the vine-like grip of legacy, memory, and magic. She loves writing about like children of authors, and I think that that's so interesting. Guinevere Sharp has 2 childhoods. In one, she lives in the wooded shadow of her family's isolated Vermont farmhouse. The other is in the pages of her mother's world-famous Ninth City books, where her magical adventures have made her a household name. In reality, Guinevere's childhood isn't the enchanted ideal her mother's readers imagine. She and her older brother are growing up near feral, unwashed, underfed, escaping each day to the lichen-clotted woods they've made their playland. As Edith Sharp's books explode into epic popularity, the threats of a rural childhood give way to the escalating perils of fame, until the night it all goes up in flames, leaving Edith's series unfinished and her children the sole survivors. Now an adult coasting on her mother's name, Guinevere is mid-promotion for a ghost-written memoir when her estranged brother, an artist who has until now spurned his family legacy, announces an upcoming installation titled Mother. As rumors swirl around the death connected to his last show, unsettling recollections from Guinevere's childhood begin to resurface. What really happened the night of the fire, and what dark history lies behind their mother's creative genius? This is a story for anyone who's ever revisited an old favorite and found it cast in a darker light, the line separating magic and memory blurring as the gap widens between the authors we imagined and the people they turned out to be. Tell me that doesn't sound intriguing. Okay? And I know that she can do this really well. Writing a world within a world is her strong point. And I'm so pumped for this. That is called The Children, and it is coming out on our blessed day of June 2nd. Skipping forward to June 4th. What a crazy first week of June. This is Rotten Heart. It is an adult romance gothic, potentially with fantasy elements, and this is by Kat Dunn, who wrote Hungerstone, which was a reimagining of Carmilla that wasn't quite there. One of the problems that our main character had was that she was really bored in her new fancy manor home, and I too was bored. It was one of those kind of stories, but the vibes captured. Okay, so I'm giving Kat Dunn another chance because Rotten Heart is inspired by Hamlet, the ultimate revenge tragedy. This is a stunning new sapphic gothic horror set in the 1890s. It is a story of love and grief, mothers and daughters, death and madness. Odette and Cecilia are young women living between their grand homes in Hampstead and the imposing ancient Herne house in Suffolk. Though Odette's artist mother Lydia keeps a tight grasp on her, she and her beloved Cecilia are mostly left free to roam. But when Lydia inexplicably sickens and dies, oh no, a dark veil falls. And as the funeral rites are performed, Odette's aunt, the cold and implacable Claudine, increasingly takes charge of the household, while her father retreats to his study. As Claudine is announced as Odette's new stepmother, I'll never get over that. Husbands marrying their dead wives' sisters, not a cute move. Anyway, so Claudine is announced as Odette's new stepmother. A sinister presence in the house makes itself known, and to her horror, Odette realizes that despite her death, Lydia never really left. And now she wants revenge. I'll take it. I love a spooky little gothic read in the middle of summer. That's typically when I reread Rebecca. I feel like that would hit. If this hits like I want it to, I feel like it would be a really great summer read. Maybe unpopular opinion, but okay. The next one coming out June 16th. I say this for every single book, but I'm really excited for this one. This is Heaven's Graveyard. It is adult science fiction fantasy, and it is by the author of The Floating Hotel, which is a book I didn't finish just because I was traveling and I didn't have time. A bookstore I went into had the blind date with a book, and the blurb for why you should pick up this book was how many intergalactic spies can you fit in a bathtub? And I was like, sounds like the book for me. So yeah, I love her writing style. I think that she writes characters really well. She can write even though nothing is happening, because she writes her characters so richly, it feels like stuff is happening. So I have full 100% faith in this because this sounds like more things will happen. Floating Hotel was more cozy sci-fi. This actually feels like shit's gonna hit the fan. Let's just say, okay? This is a science fantasy tale of history and myth, magic and mystery. And the summary says, be careful what you pray for. Cod became an archaeologist to chase the ghost of her hero, Aleia Ana Ulai. History may have written Aleia off as a myth, but Cod is determined to prove she existed, even if it means sifting through relics for the rest of her life. Then a message arrives, summoning her home. Cod's former teacher has found something monumental, the ruins of an enchanted city slumbering beneath the soil. This could be the breakthrough they've always dreamed of, but with war brewing, rival powers circling, and ancient magic stirring underfoot, their discovery soon becomes far more trouble than it's worth. Even Cod starts to wonder if some things are better left buried. Heaven's Graveyard is a sinister lesbian history mystery, bringing old magic into a dangerous new century. Sinister lesbian history mystery sold. Take my money. Yeah, that's coming out the 16th. It's called Heaven's Graveyard. It's by Grace Curtis. I love June. Our last 2 books for June. Early summer, we've got ghosts and magic and all of this. We then have, I'm taking this ring off for continuation's sake. I am removing the ring. It hurts me. We have The River She Became. This is a young adult fantasy romance. It is high stakes, action-packed. It is about a relic hunter who searches for an ancient fae object to restore the magic to her world. This is about Yasima, a brilliant scholar and loyal servant of the Empire. Or so they think. By day, she's cataloging fae relics, but by night, she reclaims the artifacts in secret to restore magic to her dying land. When she finds a long-lost key to cross the river, capital R, into the fae world and save her people, a ruthless realm awaits her, ruled by monsters wearing beautiful skin, especially the cold-eyed captain who sees through her lies. But even he isn't what he seems. Under the guise of upholding a cruel regime, he works to overthrow it from the inside. To succeed, he needs the same lost relic Yasima seeks, the crown of the ancient Fae Queen. To survive, they must work together to outwit ancient curses, battle creatures born of nightmares, and find a power that could resurrect their worlds. Oh, that's why this is where the green flags were waving. Okay, the alarm bells were ringing, because this is perfect for fans of, are you ready? Buckle up. The Cruel Prince and the Mummy. The Cruel Prince meets the Mummy. Oh my god. If she could pull that off, world changing. Coming out June 30th. And our final entry for June, also coming out on the 30th, really quickly, is The Winged Game. This is by the author of The God and the Gumiho, excuse me. But this one's very different. This is young adult fantasy romance. It is fantasy meets sports romance. In this sizzling, slow burn novel in which the disgraced star of a brutal magical sport must team up with the rival who destroyed her career. Grumpy Taissa Cho lives alone in an obscure corner of Scotland for a reason. Once, she was the United Kingdom's hidden city's most promising Carawitchit player. Oh, basically, Taissa's coach etched an illegal rune onto her, turning the odds in her favor, even though Taissa didn't want it, and Kion, an annoyingly handsome star player of her rival team, caught her. Her career completely and utterly over. Until Kion asked her to come play for the Stimps, her rival team, I suppose. Wait a damn minute. To garner publicity and keep Taissa as the Stimps' secret weapon, she and Kion are forced into a fake relationship. Can they save their team from ruin, even when sabotage seems afoot? So, to cover for why they're together, training and working together again, they just have to pretend that they're dating instead. I'm super on the fence. I don't know. I just thought I would put that out there, seeing as how our minds and bodies are so prepped for a sports romance between rivals. I don't know. That is called The Winged Game. I'm not going to be first in line, but I will be interested to see what other people think. June 30th. There you go. July. We've got 2 for you. Both by authors I know, and hence why I'm immediately excited without knowing anything. First off, July 21st, a young adult fantasy historical fiction called The Witch Below the Dreaming Wood. This is by H.G. Perry. I always almost love their books. I think that the premise is always really great. I think that the characters are really well formed, but there's always something something missing. Maybe this will be the one, especially because this is perfect for fans of the everlasting and the once and future king, because this is all about King Arthur. So, starting in Wales in 1941, as the Second World War ravages the globe and bombs fall from the sky, people all over the world begin to dream of King Arthur. The dreams spread like a fantastical plague, flooding people's sleep night after night. Whispers arise of wonders and unexplained sightings, dragons in the London Underground and strange lights over Stonehenge. Self-proclaimed prophets claim they are miracles, heralding Arthur's return at the time of Britain's greatest need. Elaine Ambrose has never dreamt of Arthur, and she doesn't believe in miracles. A librarian at the British Museum, okay, wants only to protect the museum's collection from the London Blitz, and is frustrated to be sent instead to catalogue a reclusive professor's private library on the coast of North Wales. Oh, this takes place mostly in a library? I don't need to read anymore. But all of this is not as it seems. Soon, Ellie must confront what she's tried to ignore. She dreams not of Arthur, but of Nimue, the Lady of the Lake, and her dreams promise not salvation, but a return to the darkness of the last days of Camelot. Ooh, that's exciting. I actually just read A Once and Future Queen, which has to do with King Arthur, let's just say, time travel. I'm still thinking about that book. I'm not really sure how I feel about it, but I'm loving all of these, like the up and coming King Arthur retellings. So I'm actually really excited. That is The Witch Below the Dreaming Wood, King Arthur plus libraries. Yes. And the final one is called Fishbone Cinderella. It is also a young adult fantasy romance / historical fiction. This is by the love of my life, Elizabeth Lim. Her fairy tale retellings, everything she writes, gimme. Fishbone Cinderella. As of today, no cover. So use your imagination, okay? She always has the best covers too, so I also would hide it till the last minute. Interestingly enough, this also takes place in the 1940s. So here we go. A bracelet, a curse, and golden fish bones to be returned to the sea. This takes place in Guangdong, 1940. When Ha Yut-ying narrowly escapes Japanese soldiers by turning invisible, she knows her newfound magic must be kept a secret. But her mother, whose dreams foretell the future, suspects her daughter has changed and warns her of a curse upon their family. For her protection, she gives her a gold bracelet whose links are shaped like fish bones. After the war, Ha Yut-ying is sent to live with her father and his second wife, who have become wealthy factory owners in Hong Kong. We're back in Hong Kong, baby. Her stepmother, jealous of her beauty, forces her to work in the family's shoe factory. But when Yut-ying collides with a boy on a bicycle on her way to work, she loses her bracelet. The boy is Tommy Young, scion of the local soybean tycoon, and their encounter will change both their destinies forever. So yeah, Cinderella retelling. She most recently did a Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling, A Forgery of Fate. So I'm immensely excited. I think this is a book that, is this the only book she's written that takes place in technically like the real world, like Hong Kong or something, instead of a fantasy world? I think it might be. But anyway, love her writing to death. That is Fishbone Cinderella, July 23rd. Oh, so excited. And also so excited for the cover. And now for our last two books of the summer. Entering August, we have August 11th, A Plagued Sea. It is adult horror science fiction. This is by Kim Bo-young, who I actually just recently met. I went to a book event. It was a panel for all of these different authors who worked together on these retellings of Lovecraft stories, and they were just so interesting. I love hearing authors speak. Just like Kim Bo-young as a person, as an author, as a thinker is really interesting, so I can't wait to read this next one. And it is translated by Sophie Bowman. First the flood, next the sickness, last the change. This is a Lovecraftian nightmare of infection, transformation, and abomination. While waiting for a train in Haewon, the isolated Korean seaside village, bodyguard Moo-young gets a disaster alert on her phone. TVs throughout the station report breaking news of a massive earthquake on the eastern coast. Despite the danger, Moo-young boards the train with her charge. She'd rather face the earthquake than leave this girl in her mother's care, and that choice haunts her for the rest of her life. 3 years later, Haewon Village is home to horrors. The earthquake unleashed an ancient plague that transforms its victims into fishy monsters, and the government's lockdown has cut off any hope for help. Moo-young's niece is dead, and all that's left for her is to hunt villagers who break isolation. When an officious bureaucrat from Seoul arrives in the village, he stirs up even more trouble. Will Mu-young survive? Does she deserve to? That is A Plagued Sea. And our final summer read comes out July 25th, and it is called Portrait of a Witch Undone. This is adult fantasy for fans of Starling House and A Discovery of Witches. Yeah. Okay. This is a contemporary New England coven hides the mysteries that lurk in the marshes north of Boston. How are they connected to the largest unsolved art heist in modern history? Yes. Okay. This is what I remember. I remember why this made the list, because this is inspired by the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum and that heist. I have actually been there. It is the most stunning just building. Regardless of the art that is on the walls, it is such a beautiful space. And this is a crime that still hasn't been solved. This is still the biggest unsolved art heist in the US. It happened in the 1990s. 13 masterpieces were stolen, valued at more than $500 million. Sir. Here's what this book is about, okay? Once, Maeve Ryan was the strongest witch of her generation, but Maeve messed up a spell, destroyed her reputation, hurt her best friend Ash, and tainted herself with unbound wild magic that transforms witches into insane revenants. With unbound power eating away at Maeve's mind, all she wants is to get rid of her magic. Forever. But Ash's research into how the spell went awry leads in an unexpected direction. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, and a link between the lady and a decades-old art theft worth $500 million. I already said. When Ash disappears through a stolen painting's empty frame, Maeve has to follow. What? Inside is the Other Marsh, capital O, capital M, a haunting, deadly realm where only the lady's rules apply. Within this half-world lie secrets about North Shore's history, Maeve's failure, and the fate of the masterpieces that disappeared over 3 decades ago. But as Maeve fights towards the truth, she risks her friendship, her coven, and her life against enemies hiding in plain sight. Ooh, I love a little Boston history moment. I love Boston. Nothing but love to y'all. And I love when something takes place in a place that I have been. So especially in a museum, I grew up with the Mixed Up Files of Basil E. Frankenwheeler. So anything that takes place in like a museum after hours, sign me up. So that is our final summer book, Portrait of a Witch Undone. And for my final trick, I will be revealing the 6 books I am anticipating in autumn. We've made it, our last 6 books of the year. Like I said, people are still constantly rolling out their announcements, so these are just what are out so far. I don't have anything listed yet for November or December. Again, this is a time capsule. This is what I know in January. And a lot of really well-known authors, like big hitters, are releasing books in autumn of 2026. So it's gonna be crazy. Starting with September 8th, we are seeing Tempest by Victoria Aveyard, the writer of Red Queen, and I believe this is her first adult fantasy, okay? I think from what I know, she's been talking about it a lot and like the writing process of it a lot on social media, so I feel like a lot of people know, maybe more than I do about it, but this is a pirate fantasy, which I'm always all about, okay? Cat Rose knows what it's like to live in 2 worlds, in 2 times. Before, as Lady Katrine of the Meridian Empire, chained to a loathsome lord with a dwindling fortune. And after, as the widow Rose, queen of a pirate tavern in the Lyrian Sea, determined to be the master of her own fate. But tides turn and winds change. The Meridian Empire looms on the horizon, and the full weight of her navy falling on the Lyrian. The full weight of her navy falls? We're missing something grammatically there. Ship after ship is captured, save for one captain who continuously evades both Noose and the legendary Valerian Kane. With his fearsome ship and uncanny connection to the Song of the Sea, Valerian is the only man who might rally the pirates who remain, the only man who threatens the Empire, and the only man Cat has ever loved. Desperate for victory, the Empire offers Cat a devastating blank. Why are all of these words missing? A devastating choice? Maybe? Bring them Valerian or hang. In truth, no choice at all. But Cat Rose is nothing if not a survivor. Am I crazy? Desperate for victory, the Empire offers Cat a devastating blank. Bring them... What is up with Goodreads and just dropping words like this? I'm so confused. This is not the only book. This is probably like the third or fourth book that has had missing words and weird sentences. What is going on? Who writes these? Who writes these? Anyway, so I'm actually not really sure what this book is about. Whatever, still interested, and many of you are interested, so there you go. That's coming out on the 8th. It's called Tempest. Let's just hope it's been edited. Yeah. Coming out on the 15th is Bodies of Magic. This is, I believe, adult, and it is a fantasy romance. It is pitched as Grey's Anatomy meets A Deadly Education in this dark academia fantasy. Intrigued to say the least. At the academy, every mage with a healer's gift has 5 years to master their power and to prepare for the infamous Grand Exam, a 5-day trial whose results will determine their entire future. The list of exam rules include: you will perform 5 practical cases. Your exam group is chosen at random. You pass together, you fail together. It does not include, on the first day, your exam group will find a classmate's dead body in the exam hall. As they will soon discover, this particular group all have something to hide, and all have a connection with the dead girl, a brilliant scholar who would have been first in their class. 5 scholars, 5 secrets. 5 days in which to solve a murder, pass the most important exam of their lives, and uncover a secret larger than all of their own combined. One with the potential to change the world. Are you ready? Let's begin. Yeah. I lack words. That sounds like it was written for me, and if she pulls it off, stunning. September 15th, Bodies of Magic. Yeah. Okay. And then finally, in September, no official date announced, but we are getting another Emily St. John Mandel. Is it St. John or St. John? The author of Station 11, the author of Sea of Tranquility. Okay, love. And I believe that these vaguely connect, perhaps. This is called Exit Party, adult science fiction, speculative fiction. Okay, this is a mind-bending story of crimes committed and loves lost across space and time. This takes place in 2031, which at first I was like, wow, distant future. The 30s are near. That's scary. Anyway, 2031, and even scarier, America is at war with itself. But for the first time in weeks, there's some good news. The Republic of California has been declared, and curfew in Los Angeles is lifted. Everyone in the city is going to party. Ari, newly released from prison, arrives with her friend Gloria, just as a fragile new era begins. But there are people at the party who shouldn't be there. Something is very wrong. Years later, living a different life in Paris, Ari remains haunted by that night. Whatever happened at the party fractured her sense of reality and may hold the key to a very different world. This is an electrifying new novel about freedom and surveillance, art and survival, love and loss in a broken world. I will read anything she writes and I will likely love it. I know people joke about California seceding. As a Californian, you know, so excited. That is called Exit Party. Currently no official date announced, but it is going to be September 2026. October is filled with some crazy releases, okay? Our last 3 of the year. And if you're skipping around, by the way, I already talked about if they are sequels or continuations of series. I mentioned them in the very beginning of this video. So if you're wondering, why isn't she talking about Leigh Bardugo? Yeah, Leigh Bardugo. September 1st, you won't hear from me, you won't see me, I will not be around. I will be head in a book, okay? But that's besides the point. Now we're in October. And October 20th, a book called Milk Teeth, a adult fantasy romance paranormal, is coming out by Caitlin Starling, who wrote The Starving Saints, which was on my favorites list of 2025. Currently on Goodreads, the genre is listed as simply vampire. No other tags, just vampire. So you can guess what we're getting ourselves into. This is a gender-bending supernatural horror about a vampire broodmother fighting against her own monstrous descent. Beatrice is a broodmother, a vampire responsible for nursing newly made fledglings through their first years of their unlife. She nests in an abandoned, isolated warren of office space between her patron's skyscraper, raising 2 fictitious fledglings. But when Beatrice decides to take on a 3rd fledgling, the product of an attempted siren gone wrong, teetering between vampiric purity and ghoulish depravity, Beatrice finds herself strained to breaking between the societal and physical demands of her position, her own ravenous hunger, and an obsessive need to discover what's happening to her, because her body is changing too. Desperate to master herself once more. What? Desperate to master herself once more, Beatrice courts a mortal OBGYN who might be able to unravel the secrets of her unnatural anatomy, and soon their connection threatens the secrecy of her vampiric coven, as well as the safety and development of... What? I have no idea. I have a feeling it's gonna lean towards maybe a little bit of body horror as well, or I just read OBGYN and I immediately think body horror. I got nothing to say. But I trust Caitlin Starling. Let me know where you stand. You might have to read that again for yourself because I genuinely didn't. None of that got in here. There you go. Milk Teeth coming out October 20th. After that, also on the 20th, is another adult fantasy romance paranormal beast called Lethal Kiss. This is apparently Jennifer's Body meets Ninth House, which I gotta say sounds amazing. This is this author's adult debut. It is a sapphic horror romance that is as grotesque as it is beautiful, because something ravenous lurks below the marble floors of Preston University. When Marcella is hired at Preston University, she intends to lay low for a few semesters, enjoy the extensive library, and feed discreetly. She's a monster, but she's careful. Then a professor is found murdered, and it isn't her doing. Whatever's killing her colleagues is older, far less restrained, and ravenous. Assistant Professor Lacey is aware how ruthless the track to tenure is, but seeing the corpse of one of her colleagues is enough to make her suspect the professors that came before her didn't just quit academia. There's only one person she can trust enough to ask for help: the beautiful, aloof, and tantalizingly secretive Marcella. The deeper into the mystery they dig, the more Marcella's drawn to Lacey's immovable bravery and quiet intelligence. And the closer they grow, the more Lacey is drawn to Marcella's vicious nature. The weight of spilled blood and stolen opportunity is too heavy to carry alone, but they're both determined to get what they deserve, even if they have to kill for it. But desire has teeth of its own. Yup. I'm already in. That one I'm fully on board with immediately. Totally understand what's going on. Yes, that is called Lethal Kiss. The cover is like a tentative, like commissioned fan art. We do not have a cover release yet, but apparently it's going to have a deluxe edition with, hey, you guessed it, sprayed edges. So buckle up for that one. October 20th, Lethal Kiss. And last, but very obviously not least, to be announced, no official date, but we are being told fall of 2026, but more specifically October. I don't know if that's true. I'm just putting this at the end. Hopefully we're seeing an October date, okay? And that is, of course, the Wicked Powers trilogy. I believe the first one is called The Last King of Fairy. This is the first book of the last Shadowhunters series by Miss Cassandra Clare. Young adult, fantasy, romance, chaos. Those are the genres, okay? We are following people that we already know because all of the Shadowhunter books are connected, okay? And we are following Kit Herondale, Ty Blackthorn, and Drusilla Blackthorn from the Dark Artifices series, my guilty pleasure series. Arguably not the best, not even arguably. Straight up, I will say, not her best work. Something about that, it's so chaotic. The characters are so emo. I've reread it, which is rare for me, okay? So I know these characters very well. I'm very excited for them to have their moment to shine. And Kit, Ty, and Drusilla are drawn into the final massive conflict between the side of the demons and of the angels. Drew is pulled into matters of fairy and the life of Ash Morgenstern, while Kit and Ty must solve a mysterious disappearance. Meanwhile, Janus, the dark version of Jace Herondale, I forgot about this, plots to bring the whole world under his power. It's always fucking Jace. Along with his demon accomplices, he hopes to rule over everything with Clary Frey by his side. Can Kit, Drew, Ash, and Ty, separated from their friends and family, hope to hold them back? While these four are our main characters, we'll also be checking back in with many others. Jace, Clary, Magnus, Alec, Emma, Julian, Mark, Kieran, Chris, Christina, Jem, Tessa. They're all back, baby. Oh my god. We'll be checking in with so many others, probably for the last time ever. The wicked powers calls the whole fate of the Shadowhunters into question and will change their world forever. I can't believe this world is coming to an end. I almost don't believe her. If I was Cassandra Clare and I have written the same world for over 2 decades, how on earth could you close that door? I can't even imagine the emotions she's going through. Crazy, crazy stuff. That is The Wicked Powers, The Last King of Fairy, tentatively fall of 2026. I'm gonna have to do a whole reread. Okay, putting that on my to-do list, but that is our autumn anticipated reads. And that is our 2026 so far. Thank you so much for being here for the wild ride. It's looking good, folks, in terms of reading. So let me know if any of those piqued your interest. If you can choose one, you could only pick one. I certainly cannot. What would you want to read? And were there any that I missed? Yeah, I'm just super excited. Also, January, I've read some good ones. I just finished a good one yesterday, so I'm excited to talk to you in our wrap up next week. January 10th seems to always set the tone for how the rest of the year is gonna go, so I will catch you guys then. Thank you again so much to Squarespace. If you once again want to start any kind of online presence, you can go to squarespace.com/caricanread and get 10% off of your first website or domain. Thank you to all of the book bloggers, all of the book reviewers and recommenders and booksellers. You're doing amazing work, and I wouldn't have known any of these books were coming out without you. But anyway, all of that information will be down below, as well as the list of all of the titles. Catch you guys in a bit. I can't wait. By the time that this video is posted, hopefully I will have already read The Poet Empress. I'll maybe let you know in the comments, thumbs up or thumbs down. So anyway, thank you as always, and I will catch you next time. And if you live in the US, if you live in kind of the New York City area, you might want to watch my Instagram or my other vlogging channel, because I'm in the city, baby, and I'm going to some book events. So yeah, I will catch you later, whether it is in New York or on this channel. See you next time, okay? Bye!